Hello folks, this is Neil from I Will Always Love Video Games. Anita Sarkeesian is back with another installment of her Tropes vs. Women in Video Games series, which came out earlier this week. I really don't know what to say about it, considering the points I covered in my previous video about her, 3 Simple Questions for Anita Sarkeesian, are still prevalent and still unaccounted for. First off, no surprises. She still has not given an explanation as to where her Kickstarter donations went. She has not addressed the question as to whether or not she actually owns the games she's critiquing, even though there's conclusive proof that she has stolen other YouTubers' Let's Play footage and claimed it as her own. And once again, she has disabled comments, leaving no forum for rebuttal, reply, or discussion with her personally. She tweeted on the day of her new video's release that she allowed ratings for a short time as an experiment and that the video received 100 downvotes in a shorter time than it would take for the complete video to finish playing. So Anita, you're going to gauge your decision on whether or not to allow voting or comments solely on the fact that there are 100 haters out there who will automatically downvote you just because they don't like you? Wow, I'm surprised people act like that. I mean, it's not like people give 1-star ratings on Amazon for items they've never owned, or given bad reviews to movies they've never seen or albums they've never heard. Oh, wait! Yes, they do! There are people out there who are simply assholes who want to stir up trouble. And in order to silence them, once again, you've done it by silencing everybody. Like I stated in my previous video, Anita, if you can't take it, then don't dish it out. Now, unlike my previous video, this time around there are some things within the video's narrative that I have problems with that I'd like to address. However, there are some good aspects of her new video, such as the explanation behind the Smurfette principle, also known as the chick trope, involving a token woman surrounded by men. Is it a tired trope that needs to be re-examined? Sure, I'll give her that. But now, on to the things that bothered me. The first one being a big one that quite literally stares you in the face. In her new video, Anita complains about the problems surrounding what she refers to as gender signifiers. Items that have, over time, become synonymous with the female gender. Among those things are the color pink, ponytails, earrings, and lipstick. All of which Anita is wearing in her videos, including the one in which she's vilifying them. Anita, you can't sit there and look your audience in the eye saying that these items are sexist and promote a negative or stereotypical image of women when you do so with plucked eyebrows, red lipstick, and gigantic hoop earrings. It's hypocrisy at its finest. She then talks about Ms. Pac-Man as if there were some deeper meaning to the character. Anita, Midway created her without the consent of Namco to continue the franchise without having to do any real work. Anita also happened to neglect the fact that, following Ms. Pac-Man, Midway also released Super Pac-Man, Junior Pac-Man, and Baby Pac-Man. Games that were simply rehashes of the original title with slight improvements and very little alterations. It was simply easier and more cost-effective to do this rather than create a brand new character and brand new game every few months. Adding slight alterations or color palette swaps to characters to create the illusion of new additions was prominent in the 8-bit era. She mentions Lolo and Lala and Bub and Bob, but neglects to mention a very obvious male-only pointless palette swap. Mario and Luigi. Both of them in the original Mario Bros. For the Atari and Super Mario Bros. For the NES are exactly identical except for their color schemes. But since it has nothing to do with females, she of course overlooked it even though the principle is exactly the same. Anita then talks about King Koopa's daughter and shows a clip of her from the Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon throwing a tantrum. She then uses this as an example of a female stereotype. Pardon me, Miss Sarkeesian, but since when is throwing a tantrum a female-only stereotype? Koopa's daughter is a child. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems to be more of a children's trait regardless of gender. Or do boys not throw tantrums anymore? I could have sworn that a child of any gender could grab at their parent's shirt in the toy store and say, "I want it, I want it." Dig around some more in that Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon and I'm sure you'll come across scenes with the male Koopa kids also whining, "But Dad..." She uses Dixie Kong as an example of how female Ms. Male characters have no identity, no traits, and no story other than their appearance. As if Donkey and Diddy have their own unique traits, besides being monkeys that throw barrels. Bad example, Anita. But the section of the video that angered me the most was the part where she rips apart the Mass Effect trilogy. Mind you, I'm not even a big fan of the franchise. Anita says herself in her video that the Mass Effect series' narrative remains relatively unchanged whether or not you play as a female or a male Commander Shepard. If that's the case, Anita, what are you upset about? Wouldn't you be angrier if there were a more stereotypical storyline for the female Commander Shepard? Does that mean you'd rather have no options as to what gender you can be in the games? Anita, you should be glad that we live in a time where video games give you the option to choose your gender rather than forcing you to be one or the other. Sometimes it seems like you're addicted to being offended. Would you rather have game companies not give us gender options at all? RPG makers don't have to give us the option to make a female character. These games are their property, their creations, their art. They aren't obligated to give us any special treatment, and yet you're going to complain even when they do? Such as in Mass Effect? The story remains unchanged. You get the same experience whether you're a male or a female. You're going to complain about this? That's the most absurd thing I've heard from you yet. Nintendo didn't have to make Peach a playable character in Super Mario Bros. 2. Nintendo didn't have to make Samus a woman. Beyond Good and Evil didn't have to have a female protagonist. And let's bring this up to current generation. Even Infinity Ward didn't have to give Call of Duty Ghosts players the option to make a female soldier. They've been making money hand over fist for years without ever having to give that option to players. Now that we have it, are you going to complain about it? Also, just because a company makes a game with a female character doesn't automatically mean that female gamers are going to identify and connect with that character. Having that assumption, Anita, is sexist in and of itself. A female gamer might connect with Marcus Phoenix more than Sam or Anya. A male gamer might connect with Alex Vance more than Gordon Freeman. Those kinds of choices and those kinds of connections are up to the player to decide, not the developer and not the publisher, and certainly not you. Once again in the video, we have zero mention of strong female protagonists. But, once again, I'm not surprised. Anita, your videos and your actions speak for themselves, and not in a good way for you. It seems more and more people are starting to tune you out. Your numbers are dropping. Episode 1 of Damsels in Distress garnered 1.6 million views. Part 2 brought in 870,000, and Part 3 only brought in 580,000. The numbers are dwindling. Your supporters are opening their eyes and waking up, Anita. You're not pushing any issues, and you're not making any more points, because you have no points to make. Anyway, folks, that's pretty much all I have to say about Anita's latest video. I'm going to try to focus on more positive things in the coming month, because the holidays are coming, and that's certainly no time for negativity, hypocrisy, or doom and gloom. I also don't want to discuss Anita anymore, because she's simply no longer worth devoting my time or attention to. Thank you for watching I Will Always Love Video Games. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.